What's up, guys? So we're going to break down exactly the creative team systems that we use for example, this brand to make over $20,000 a day consistently in revenue, okay? So I want to show you the exact pipelines, the exact systems that you can use to essentially remove yourself from your entire system to not having to focus on the creatives, on the marketing overall, and then you can focus on the highest leverage thing, which is obviously either going to be, in your case, product research and product development, and then, overall, the highest leverage thing is kind of trying to remove yourself to prove that the business works without you, that there's no key man risk in the business. And so I want to break down specifically what kind of roles you're going to need, and then we're going to go through an entire project where it kind of needs to go, and you're going to understand this very, very well, and you're going to be able to build teams, scale teams, manage teams, and hire teams, okay? So this is you, the CEO or the CMO or whatever you are watching this video, and so you want to go from doing all that stuff that I'm going to go over alone to having a creative strategist, right? This is the blue guy here. Then we have a creator manager. Then we have video editors, graphic designers, so the production team, and then we have a media buyer. And I'm going to break down exactly how you can really systemize everything, automate everything, build up the communication within these teams, and make everything so good and so perfect that you don't even need to hop on daily calls, which is one of the first things that you'll learn in project management. And so you can really just maximize the the overall team performance. So I'm going to break down. We're going to do a test batch here, right? So I'd say this is batch 1. Okay, so batch 1 here is going to be one of the ad concepts that the creative strategist is going to launch. We're going to make this purple, I think. Let's just make this purple, okay? Just so it's easy to see. So what's going to happen here is this batch 1 right here is going to be put into the very first pipeline, the so-called pipelines, into the ideation one. And so this first pipe overall is just going to be the ideation one, the only one that's actually going to have an overview of this. And the only purpose of this is overall so that the creative strategist knows exactly where the batch is at. So this is where everything is at first, okay? So another thing what you're going to do is obviously here in every part of the pipeline, every part of the system, it doesn't matter what software you use, you're going to essentially group them and sort them by priority, okay? So for example, let's say if, let's imagine that this was batch 2, and I'm going to make this red. Let's say batch 2 is actually more important because it's an iteration, because it's just something that just been proven in the ad account to work in the past. What you're actually going to do is you're not going to really need to write a number to it or assign anything in terms of priority. Essentially what you're just going to do, you're just going to drag this here and you're going to drag the batch 2 on top, and pretty much every software lets you do this. If not, then you got to switch softwares. But what's going to happen here is whenever have the right priorities in place, what we're just going to do is start from the top and then actually go through this first pipeline. So one of the first things that happens after it's in the ideation stage, where there's pretty much nothing happening, just a wait list for the actual process to start. And so one of the first things we're going to do is online research. Once again, still creative strategist job. Then we're going to do customer research, meaning specifically customers in terms of calling them, in terms of actually speaking to them. Then we have surveys, which is a separate one, right? So survey research specifically is going to be, for example, a survey being sent out. For example, let's say if a survey currently is just being made and you kind of just wait, then you would put this in the customer research one, okay? So when the survey collects data and is being sent out and whatnot, then you're going to put it here, right? Then you're going to go through competitor research, which is actually sitting in the ad library or any other spy tool. And then we have ad account audits. So this is basically the winning variables, the losing variables, and everything that is working at the moment. So this is something where already this guy from the very right here, the media buyers, already can kind of communicate, and this is really important that the communication is constantly really there and happening, okay? So obviously what we're going to want to do and think about is based off what kind of iteration or what type of batch it is, you can obviously skip these stages in terms of research here. So for example, right, let's say you want to have an iteration. Let's say batch 1 is an iteration of a concept that's already been inside of the ad account for a long time. Let's say it's round 10 of iterations, right? Then you're just going to drag this immediately to the ad account audit and then basically think about what exactly is going to be made, okay? So once the batch is ready, right? Once the ideation is finished, the creative strategist has pretty much done the job when it comes to this batch, and then he's going to just start working on all the other batches that are in the ideation stage. However, then you're just going to move this to either, one of these two ready pipes. Okay, so one of them is ideation, move to content. The other one is iteration, move to editing. Because the next pipe, specifically what it's going to be, it's just going to be the content sourcing, or we could also say creator management pipeline. Okay, now obviously if it's an iteration, we obviously have most of the content already. Besides, obviously if we need to make like content iterations, so visuals, then we're obviously going to drag it to the content. But if not, if we're literally just making script changes, if we're just making editing changes and whatever, then we're just going to drag it here. And therefore, whenever it is here or here, this is where other team members actually drag it to the next things. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Okay, let's say we need new content for this batch. Okay, so this is actually where the creative strategist is going to stop dragging it from one pipeline to the next. This is actually when this guy here, the creator manager, is just going to drag this into content sourcing, creator sourcing. This is actually going to be the onboarding process, the research, the reach outs, and all that kind of stuff in terms of actually getting started on working with creators. And when you have a lot of them, then you're just going to select them. Okay, so the reason why this is a separate pipe is obviously because oftentimes if you have them both in one pipeline, usually things get stuck here and you're going to want to keep them separate. Okay, so after it's in the creator selection process and we have our creator, then you're just going to send the product to that creator if he doesn't have it already. And then basically the content is going to be made. So there's going to be a lot of batches here, right? After some time. And this is really how you can measure how efficiently and quickly you as the brand are sourcing content. So if you realize there's a lot of stuff stuck here and you can't really work very quickly and all these people are just waiting with empty pipelines, then you need a better system in terms of the creator management. You need to onboard more creators. So this is a whole tip overall. Whenever you see something getting stuck in one of these pipelines, you know exactly which team members is kind of responsible for it. You can actually just talk to them without actually guessing and without pointing fingers or without them pointing fingers on others. Okay, so whenever we have the raw content ready, it's going to go through a couple different review stages, and this is actually a pretty important thing that you do this separately and not just like, okay, review and then it's done. Okay, so firstly we have the internal review. Now internal review meaning it's being reviewed by someone who has had direct access to this batch. So actually the creative strategist. And the reason why the internal review is so important to be done by the guy that's actually like basically scripted the whole thing is because he had an expectation. He was the creative mind that was behind this whole batch. And so he can give you very, very quick feedback, or not you, but the creator manager, very, very quick feedback in terms of what exactly is going wrong with this and kind of what the process is going to look like. So obviously if it needs any revision, it's just going to be internal revision, meaning creator manager with the creative strategist, and then obviously going back and forth with the creators themselves until it is ready, and then it goes to the external review. And so the external review is someone who had nothing to do with the ideation. Okay, so exactly everyone but this guy here, but the creative strategist. So this guy, this time what's going to happen is either you as the CMO, right, or let's say as a CEO or whatever, obviously you're not going to do this forever, but for example, you could also have the media buyer do this. Okay, so anyone who just didn't have anything to do with the ideation of this batch is just going to check it out. Once again, just like overall, he has more of like a bigger perspective over everything, and he's going to also see mistakes sometimes that maybe the creative strategist might be a little bit more biased in this case actually didn't see. And so then obviously if it needs any revisions, then we're going to once again go back and forth with the creators until the content, the raw content, is pretty much ready, and then batch is being dragged to ready, move to editing. Okay, so now this is the interesting part, because this is probably most of the things go wrong, or most of the things get stuck. Okay, now either it's going to come from here, right, to the needs editing batch here, as you can see, or it's going to come directly from here, right, if it's an iteration when we already have a lot of content. In both cases, it doesn't matter if it's the creator manager or the creative strategist already, because it's an iteration, it's going to be dragged first into the needs editing pipeline. Okay, so the next pipeline is going to be the editing one, the graphic design one, and whatever. And so when it is in here in the first pipe, then it's like, okay, just waiting. Once again, this is actually super powerful. You will see things getting stuck here. And this is, once again, very important to, look at like the whole process, you as the founder, you as the CMO, whatever you do, and then actually identify what is going wrong in this pipe. So that should be the only thing that you do. You shouldn't actually write scripts or whatever, right? If you do want to scale, if you do want to exit your brand at some point. So what you're going to want to do is, as the video editor and as the graphic designer, what they're going to basically take care of is to have this pipeline go very, very smoothly. Okay. So what's going to happen in here is, from the needs editing one, is the batches are going to be dragged to the asset gathering. So this is basically all the content, once again, being gathered together, all the, the primary text that worked in the past that kind of match this, every variable, every little piece of information, maybe any specific designs or whatever, any backgrounds, anything in terms of, some stuff that is brand specific that you just need to gather together, just needs very, very quickly to be assembled here. Now, obviously, nothing should be stuck here. So this should be a very quick process. And so then it goes into the actual editing part, okay? So this is where graphic designers actually design graphics, and this is actually where video editors edit videos. Cool. Obviously not too complicated. Whenever something is ready, we're going to go through a very specific revision process again. Okay, so once again, the internal review, and once again, yes, the poor creative strategist has to go through a lot of stuff. This is going to be whenever we have like the version of the ad ready and finished, in terms of graphic designers and video editors, he's going to send back the batch to the creative strategist. So the creative strategist is going to look at everything that is in the internal review and then actually approve it or tell what to change. So to give feedback. That we obviously either skip the internal revision or maximize everything, and then, feedback, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes into the external review. Now, once again, we need someone who had nothing to do with the ideation. So this time it can also, for example, be, the creator manager. It can be you, it can be the media buyer, someone who had nothing to do with this. Once again, revision. And when it's done, you're going to drag it over to the advertising part. So this is the last pipeline here in the whole process. And this is one of the most important ones because this one's going to be taken care of by your media buyer. Okay, so this is one of the highest leverage things in this process. Okay, so you're going to drag this to the ready to launch process, to ready to launch pipe. And so this here actually kind of more or less is going to be empty every single time, because either you have a process of launching ads like twice a week, then it's obviously going to stack up, and then boom, because it's very quick to upload ads into the ad account. You should always have a little bit of a system behind it. For example, once or twice a week you just launch the creative that you have. And so batches ready to launch, very simple, very low leverage, just making a new ad set and then launching everything in it. Okay, so then we obviously have the first 7 days. Okay, so when the batch is being launched, it's going to stay here. So we're not going to actually judge it like within those first 7 days. We're not going to categorize it, oh, it's spending less than this, it's getting more than this in ad spend, whatever, right? This is assuming that you run a CBO setup. And so you're just going to drag it from here either to the daily spend below 250 profitably or above 250. If it's unprofitable anyways, you're going to kill it anyways after 7 days. Okay, so from here it's just going to go into obviously from here is pretty much, let's say from here is pretty much going to go into either one of these four. Okay, so either daily spend less than 250 but it's still profitable, spend more than 250, it's profitable, killed, right, which is unprofitable, and then rejected. We want to have a separate one. And so the interesting part is whenever something is dragged in here, which is the daily spend over 250, so something actually works, right, especially also here, but it's like really important that it's done here, then we're just going to copy this whole thing, link it, and once again, software lets you do this, and then you're just going to start it again here. And then you're basically going to do 1.1, so variation 1. And the whole thing, and this is the beauty, goes through the whole process again. And this is how you can pretty much systemize everything, the whole process, kind of remove yourself from the business, that you can just look over everything, and at some point the evaluation of the business is so high because everything works without you, and then you can sell and exit. Okay, so thank you so much for giving me your most important asset, which is actually your attention. Thank you for watching. I wish you a beautiful